Hello again, Mavic traders, and welcome out. This is Ankit from Mavic Currencies, and let's begin our market coverage. It's Tuesday, January the 31st, final day of this trading month, so let's get into it. Talk about today's market price action, and most importantly, talk about next 24 hours as we have the FOMC ahead. So let's take a look at markets today. So overall, markets pretty much did a reversal of yesterday's move. As you can see, that markets have almost regained what they lost yesterday. S&P up 1.46, World Stock Index up 1.16. The only laggard was the crypto. Yesterday they lost about 5%, and today they only gained back 1.49%. We have the gold kind of reversing. We have the oil also reversing as well. So a bit of a U-turn. And as we take a look at the candlestick for today, I mean, everything kind of looks bullish to me here. So if you just take a look at the price action, I mean, now what we are seeing is that we are seeing these pullbacks are being good buying opportunity. I mean, just the opposite, last year when every rally was just being sold off, we get some relief rally, and that just caused some more towards the downside. So now we're just getting an opposite, but we are not really extremely bullish here. We are mildly bullish. So we still have this resistance at about 4,100. And I know I've talked to traders, and again, if some of you are expecting a bit of a retest of about not just this level, but maybe going back towards this 4,180 to 4,260 area. But right now, this is the area where I think we'll take a bit of a pause. So I still think we got still a bit of a rally in the tank here. Again, if you look at the expectation, markets are not really worried for the FOMC tomorrow. I think the expectation, as we looked at the what the expectation tomorrow is for the rate hike, pretty much the 25 basis point is priced in there. And again, the big move usually happened when there's a surprise either way. But right now, everything seems to be priced in. And I think unless the Fed chair come out tomorrow and be very, very hawkish and really start to talk the markets down, I think this is the area we need to watch out for. Of course, we always want to make sure that we don't get this shooting star candle in this area where it just runs up and just reversed and closed on the lows of the day. Again, those kind of things usually happen after the FOMC. So we need to see that FOMC really give us a green light here for a further rally. And I think that would really set the tone for this to kind of rally up a little bit further. So same kind of sentiment is across the world. World Stock Index also same thing. We are almost back with this reversal, and again reversing the entire move from yesterday. So I think market still looks strong to me here. On the other hand, crypto, if you look at the candlestick today, was pretty much gave half of his gain for the day. So it's not a good sign. I think the cryptos are likely to be longer in this consolidation. So if you're looking to be buying the crypto, I think you got to watch out for this. I don't like the fact that we kind of give up this price action for today, or the gains for today. Again, what we need to see is this. You need to see a candlestick that kind of holds that level and just continue on from there. So that's really what we have overall. Again, crypto, outside of the crypto, again, gold, which is really the opposite trade of the US dollar. And again, that was a bit of a reversal today as well, because we started off with the risk off move, and then we actually ended up with the much higher for the day. So interesting price action. This is the end of the month, so we see some rebalancing, and that could also have something to do with it. So if you take a look at the crypto price action, I mean, between 1% to 2% is what we've seen across the board. Again, nothing too bullish. Again, we are just recovering some of the losses from yesterday. So I think a bit of consolidation here. But now currencies is really where it really is a mixed bag. I mean, take a look at across the board. So we have the yen almost flat. Again, yen is a very tough trade, and I've said that before. Be cautious about the yen because it picks up and it just gives back. It's not really showing consistency. I think it's just kind of in the no man's land right now. The US dollar, again, it was up about 0.5% and actually closed lower, about 0.21%. So again, dollar is really tied to the risk sentiment. So if the risk sentiment is weaker, that's helping the dollar. Last night, the markets were weak and the dollar was actually higher. And then the market rallied this morning and dollar just turned around. So keep an eye on the dollar as your play with the risk on or risk off theme. Euro, you can see, was flat. and then we had the pound being a little bit weak. So as you can see that it was not really a straight across the board. What we've seen is a turnaround. It's Swiss franc, which I've been talking about as a possible short. I was surprised to see this whopping 1% move today. We'll have to see if this move lasts. Like I said, this was the month end today, and this could be some sort of rebalancing here. We also had the Canadian dollar, which we'll be talking about yesterday. We talked about that this is kind of improving a little bit here, not looking to short, but it's not really an aggressive buy. But this was an impressive price action today, 0.52, especially on a day where we've seen a risk on rally. And then again, look at the Aussie and the Kiwi. They actually were the weakest. So definitely we need to pay attention to some of these currencies and see, okay, are they about to turn? Because for the last 3 months, we really haven't seen any new developments. We have seen the pretty much exact same story playing out. CAD has been the weakest, the Aussie and the Kiwi were the strongest. And then what we're looking for is a bit of a change in these trends in the markets. So if we take a look at the overall market outlook, we're still sitting at +2. Again, right now, if you just look at the technical indicators, everything is pointing out to a further upside. Again, things are not really going to move in a straight arrow. We can have some pullbacks, but I think if you take a look at the path of least resistance, right now we are getting a little bit more push to the upside, and more of these days that get erased, these losses that get erased, I think is a positive sign in the shorter term. Now, taking a look at the schedule, again, we don't have anything fireworks so far. We have the consumer confidence today that came in weaker than expected, and we had the GDP, which was more in line. So Canadian GDP did not really cause any sort of fireworks. We didn't see any fireworks off of this. We have the Kiwi employment report tonight. Again, we are seeing weakness in the Kiwi, so I'll be paying close attention to the Kiwi here. But I think the big focus is really in the second half of this week, starting Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So tomorrow we'll be meeting live for the FOMC statement. We'll be covering this in our midweek, and we'll talk about and cover this and see how the price action is. I think after that, we'll probably have a much better clarity on where the market wants to go. Remember, we're still fighting the Fed. Market's expecting everything to for the Fed to be dovish, and Fed on the other hand is trying to fight inflation. So you can see that there is that bit of a tug of war here. So you have to be very careful in these kind of market conditions. So let's do a quick currency analysis and see, okay, what the velocity score looks like. And as you can see, this is not really what gets us excited when things are in the -1 to +1. I like the fact that Canadian and Swiss franc actually was the strongest today. I do like the fact that Canadian dollar is showing a lot more strength. I was definitely surprised with Swiss franc. But again, I'm not really buying into this Swiss franc strength right now. I think this could be in a shorting opportunity. But Canadian dollar has been sitting on these impressive levels that I think could have a relief rally in the shorter term. So we'll take a look at some of the Canadian crosses in the next 24 hours. But outside of that, the Aussie and the Kiwi, they are underperforming. We had a massive week in the Aussie last week. It's fizzling away, and so is the Kiwi fizzling away. So keep a close eye on this relative strength of weakness, and not really, go for what you think is going to happen, but just go for what's really happening. Look at the relative strength of weakness and trade that. So let's do a quick possible trades. Let's see if there's any opportunities I can find. Like I've said before, I am more focused on trading the news event tomorrow, and then we're gonna look for both case scenarios, both the dollar strong case scenario and the dollar weak case scenario. So let's actually take a look at Canadian dollar first, because Canadian dollar had a nice move, and you can see that Canadian dollar has been down in the dumps for the longest time. Let's go on the daily chart, as you can see that this is in this little range here, not giving us a good indication where it actually wants to go. But right now we are going to try to get above this 20 and the 50 moving average. Again, there's a lot of technical resistance here, but I would like to see this get above this area, because that's where we are going to see a bigger move to the upside. But right now you can see that the Canadian dollar so far is trying to carve out a bottom. These are not typical V-shaped recoveries. These are the recoveries that are happening with some consolidation in between, and then it just suddenly pops out to the upside. That's the kind of price action we should expect if we're seeing a turnaround. Now, on the other hand, look at the Swiss franc move. We have been consolidating in this range for the last few days, you can see, and then we got a nice little big move to the upside. So the question really is, if you take a look at this price action, do we expect further continuation? I think if we are still below the 20, the 50-day moving average, I wouldn't be surprised if we start to give up some of the gains for today. Again, if you're looking for a follow through, what you need to do is you need to see further breakout to the upside. But again, if you were looking at short and you've seen this rally, I think this is also providing a good short-term opportunity to short this, and we can actually use a stop right above it. But right now, I don't really like this as a buy. My initial premise was on the downside, so I will see if this actually continues to move on the lower side. But on the other hand, if you take a look at it, Canadian dollar is actually strengthening. So one is actually giving up some of the gains and one is strengthening. So let's take a look at what CAD Swiss franc is doing, because we can get a unique opportunity here. If things turn around, if CAD stays strong and Swiss franc pulls back, I think we can take a look at some of the Swiss franc crosses here. So, I talk about this on a daily chart, how there's a nice little resistance here. It was kind of pushing above it. You can see the moving averages are kind of turning over here. So I further like this to the upside. I will be taking a look at this trade as a reversal. Again, realize that these are slow moving trades, but volatility is very low. This is the 4-hour chart. You can see the volatility is on the low side. Look at the daily chart. There's a little bit pickup in volatility at the beginning of the year, but if you look at the last few days, the volatility is very quiet. So I'm looking for a further break if there's a continuation. Now let's talk about Aussie and Kiwi, because Kiwi, if you take a look at the chart, it's not really giving us a good buy signal. If you want to go with the correlation and say, well, I think the markets, there's a risk on sentiment, markets are rallying, and so should the Aussie and the Kiwi. I mean, Kiwi is not really moving. So pay attention to that one. Also keep in mind is that Kiwi came off. I mean, we had the strongest run from October all the way till December, January. So very robust 3 months of run. We have seen this kind of runs before. And if you really look back, I mean, I recall this thing happened back in 2018, which was very similar. Take a look at what happened in 2018. Things were down on the long for the entire year. And then the last quarter, October, November, December, you can see which it rallied. But then as soon as the 2019 came along, you can see that we did pull back, have a little bit of a rally in this period, and then it just gave up all the gains. There was no continuation in that follow through. So we don't know if this is the same kind of scenario happening, but I mean, if you take a look at the chart, we're kind of getting the similar price action where things are just going sideways, and eventually we'll probably see a breakdown. And if that's the case, then we need to kind of look at some of the Kiwi crosses accordingly. I mean, if you take a look at Kiwi CAD, I mean, this is another pair that I've been talking about. I mean, so far you can see, look at the rally that we got from 77 up to 87. And if you look at in the percentage points, I mean, that was a 15% run. I mean, these are gigantic runs in the currency market. So you can see that right now we're trying to give up this 20 to 50 moving average. If we can get below this, now we are actually done with the uptrend. This is the strongest uptrend here. We've gone sideways here, but if we can get below it, then we can expect something similar right here. Look what happened last year, 2022. Started off the year strong, and then we started to make lower highs, and then eventually we got that break to the downside. So keeping that in mind. You can also take a look at Aussie Kiwi as well. As you can see that Aussie Kiwi is more trending to the upside than it is to the downside. So this is a pair. Again, I think right now Aussie and Kiwi kind of both kind of looks the same, but overall you can see Kiwi showing more relative weakness. Now let's talk about the Aussie. Aussie again is not really showing a good follow through so far this week. You can see that we had just kind of pulled back, but in this pullback a buying opportunity, then we have to kind of wait and see what happened with the risk sentiment tomorrow. But so far you can see that we broke out. We got a pullback here. This could be just a buying opportunity, but we need to wait for a confirmation on that. Look at the 15-minute chart. We're getting a nice consolidation. So we saw the rally in the markets, but we didn't see a full rebound in the Australian dollar. So keep an eye on that one. So these are the pairs that I'm paying close attention to. But I mean, take a look at dollar Swiss franc. We got a nice little reversal here today. So a lot of the dollar crosses, you notice that had a bit of a reversal today. They had a two-part day. You should take a look at early in the day. I mean, 15-minute chart. Let's take a look at it. You can see that we had a very impressive rally, a breakdown, and then we got a nice little reversal. So today was a bit of a reversal day where you can find opportunities. But right now, like I said, this is the end of the month. I'm not sure how much that has to do with it. We still have the FOMC to go through tomorrow, but I think in between, we'll have decent opportunities. So another one that I want to pay attention to is the dollar yen, because I know some traders are trying to capture or go with the dollar or the yen. Realize dollar yen is not really deviating from each other. They're kind of similar. So as you can see, that 15-minute chart, dollar yen did break. And then what we have is a rally. Let's take a look at the last night price action. So what you notice is that there's a lot of quick runs up and down. But at the end of the day, they're not going anywhere. These are always difficult price action if you're trying to pick a direction. I think at the same time, right now, just looking for expectation for the yen is very similar to what we are seeing in the dollar. Take a look at yen right now. Look at the wicks there. It's not a good sign if you're trying to go long the yen. I think the yen is still stuck here until it breaks towards the low side here. Tomorrow, I always like to look at dollar yen for these news events. And we take a look at dollar yen. The way things are moving, we're right at the moving average. I wouldn't mind taking a look at dollar yen to the upside if you can break above this area with a target at 134 to 136. But again, on the other hand, if this breaks lower and gets below the 128, then we can be aiming towards the downside. So the dollar yen will be the one that I'll be looking at as well. But again, we'll be talking more about these pairings. We'll see how the price action goes overnight. And we'll take a look at some of the price action and then take a look at some trades during the class. So I think that's where the bigger opportunity is. Focus will be on USD pairs. If you are trying to get outside the USD pairs, then you can take a look at Swiss franc crosses. Like I said, we got a rally today. I'm looking to see if there's any sort of continuation or we give up those gains. My play would be more to short this Swiss franc rally. Trade less, focus on what's in play. Again, next 3 days will be more jam-packed. Looking to be more active around that time. So if you've been patient, great job. That's where we want to be. And we'll see you guys tomorrow, and we'll go through the midweek update and talk about the FOMC tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Till then, take care.